Welcome to Gridiron Bros Podcast number 6. We're all the way up to 6. Hopefully it'll be 600 at some point. And today it's just going to be me and Aldo. A lot has happened this last week. We're going to try to post this immediately. So this is relevant because by tomorrow morning, we're probably going to have new things that aren't relevant anymore. And so it's a lot of craziness happening, Aldo, in this last week. I say we kind of start off with the Bears trade, the first pick in the draft to Carolina, and what a haul. And I think it's amazing to think like we were literally handed all this for free because our old coach just happened to win that last game for spite against the Texans because he knew he was getting fired. So he just wanted to win so they didn't have the first pick. And thank you so much. You've done more for us now than when you did when you did. No, he was a good coach, but it's just, wow. Thank you so much, Texans.
Yeah, I mean, this was probably the biggest haul the Bears would probably get in terms of like just pure value of everything. I did read multiple articles stating that the Colts were giving a similar compensation in terms of draft capital value. They were actually have 3 first-round picks, but the main deal breaker was that they weren't willing to put Michael Pittman in the deal. So the whole entire time, the Bears were trying to pull teams' number one wide receivers in to include on a trade, which I think was genius for Ryan Poles to go ahead and do that. Like, it would have been nice to have the number 4 pick from the Colts and Michael Pittman, but I'm very happy with this trade and what we got. DJ Moore is one of the best receivers in the league, and he is just a phenomenal player.
He's not elite. He's not elite, but like he's a solid number one, and he can grow into elite, I think. Also, yeah, we didn't get it, but the way these picks are kind of treated from a drafting standpoint, like draft point, like they talk about, I think you've heard coaches and other people talk about this just in the last like week or so, where basically it's not about rounds, it's about like parts of each round, and the numbers specifically are grouped together to determine the value of a pick. And in all honesty, like that first round pick that the ninth pick, the top 10 picks are great. Those are awesome. But you're looking at like pick number 20 and below, it's basically a glorified second round pick at that point. And so a lot of these first rounders we have and things like that. And when you talk about the future too, you're not going to be typically looking at them as like, okay, first round pick next year is really treated as a second round pick. And that's the way you need to treat it when you're picking them up and all that. So, technically, yes, we got 2 first rounders for it and 2 second rounders, and DJ Moore, a stud in his own right, and will be one for Chicago too. But I think it's a great haul. And again, it's courtesy of the Texans. This was free. Like, we didn't have to do anything we won the game and not lost the game or something like right. We did what we needed to, and then the Texans just won. Who would have expected that?
Oh yeah, I mean, the tank was very obvious from very early in the season for me, and I would hope a lot of Bears fans, because of the fact that they were just starting to trade everybody, and it was just.
It's like, yeah, you're doing good. We're gonna trade you. Okay, you're doing good. Apparent. We're gonna trade you.
But I mean, it did require a lot of luck because we did get those 2 early wins in the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got that 1 win against the Patriots, where the Bears, despite trading Robert Quinn the week before, had just completely dominated that group, and was probably Justin Fields' coming out party, where he just goes ahead and shows like, hey, this is what happens when I get a offense that's designed around what I can do. Yep. And it was like, I was pumped for that game, and I was really excited. And then they traded Roquan Smith, and then everything just kind of fell apart. The defense wasn't stopping anybody anymore. The Bears' offense was going off, but they didn't have the talent to be scoring 40 points a game, despite the fact they were scoring 28 to 35 a game, which unfortunately, when you just don't have those pieces on defense, it just doesn't help. But this trade really, really helps. And like we got all the way down to number 9 pick, and with that being said, we might be able to still land one of the top 2 players in the draft in Jalen Carter with his legal troubles and his bad pro day, but considering that he has been dealing with this legal issues, which got resolved recently, actually.
Yeah, got some community service. Going to be cleaning up the field during halftime. Not really, but I don't know. Yeah. So there's another concerning thing though that I heard about him. Aside from him cramping during just the running around a little bit and gaining 9 pounds and all those kind of things. The other concern is, some of the rumors around, and I don't know how true these are, but around him not necessarily wanting to play football, his heart not being in it. And so that's the biggest concern for me. And, Ryan Poles, he will be one of the players that Ryan Poles brings to Hallis Hall to try him out, talk to him and see, is this something he really wants to do, his passion for it and those kind of things. I'm sure we'll hear reports and things after that visit, which should be about mid-April.
Well, yeah, and with that being added on to it, that was actually one of the knocks against Jalen Carter during the football season last year, when people were actually talking about Georgia and when they were playing, is that he was one of those guys who would oftentimes take breaks during the game. Like he would have stretches where he would dominate, and then there would be points where he would take plays off, But
yeah,
and you don't typically want that, but hopefully if he was a guy that was projected to be the best player in the draft. The talent is there, and he's definitely someone who, once he gets his foot in the ground and goes all in, he's going to be an all-star. But again, it's like you said, and with what these legal troubles with all the racing and the irresponsibility that and the lack of maturity, who you really think that he can be that guy? Is he worth a first-round pick? So there's the chance of him falling to number 9 to the Bears and plugging in that spot that we really do need.
Yeah.
Going to be is it worth it to take someone like that when he may not even be worth a first-round pick anymore because of these legal issues? But
yeah,
on the flip side,
I think you still take a flyer on him.
On the flip side, though, there are situations where, if I've heard that he's been a really great teammate, the guy does a lot for his community. He is a good kid. He's just made a few mistakes in his life. And who knows, maybe this whole situation and it almost costing him millions of dollars will be that kick in the butt for him to be like, all right, I gotta be all in on this. And it really depends on how well he does with his interviews at his pro days. Because it's like you said, he did gain 9 pounds, but he's also been going to court, and that takes a lot out of a person. Especially when it involved 2 people's lives that he was very close to,
Yeah.
You kind of got to give the kid the benefit of the doubt, and you got to be like, yeah, he's got stuff he's got to work through right now that are very pressing.
Yeah, I got you. But let's talk about Hicks real quick, because he's going to be playing nose guard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Hicks, I don't know if you recall, but he used to play on a good game, it was 60% of the game. So he did take a lot of time off. And they said for nose guard, he was playing a good amount of time and sometimes going up to 70, 80% of the time. So like if this guy takes off plays, that's okay, because we should have someone as a backup for different plays and different things. But if he was a rookie, maybe he should play more, but he's learning. He's gonna have to get past all the conditioning stuff and those kind of things, probably lose some weight and all kinds of things. We have some good coaches, great facility at Hallis Hall. If he really, really puts in the effort and makes football his whole life, which this might give him the kick in the butt he needs, then there is a possibility that he puts in the time, he learns everything. We have good coaches. He fills in that position really nicely. He could be a real big monster, like you said. And I don't know. I think he's it's just tricky, right? But I think he's worth picking up if he drops to the 9th pick. I said a flyer, but it's not necessarily a flyer when it's the first round 9th pick. It's more of like, gotta really want him and need him, and his upside's huge. Tevin Jenkins though was also very naturally gifted, and you kind of see what happened with him, immaturity and things like that, and those are problems. So it depends on if they can deal with that, like flus and stuff like that, or like is it going to be a problem, or how is that going to be handled? Can they handle trouble cases? Can they set people straight? Do they have everything? The hits principle. Oh wow! If he starts the hits principle, that means everybody better be conditioned like a mofar, and like.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how this guy's going to do it.
Oh no, I definitely do believe in Matt Eberflus's ability to develop defensive players. And in regards to your comment about Hicks playing 60% of his snaps, that's I believe that's because the Bears at the time were actually rotating him in and out of the lineup.
Yeah.
So it was more like that he was playing 60% of the Bears snaps defensively. So it maybe that's a case of where overall Jalen Carter plays less snaps in the NFL as he did in college.
I was thinking that. I'm like, well, that might be a thing.
So it could be that they're able to reserve more of that, where he's able to just able to give more plays at 100% overall then. So that is becoming more of a mainstay in the NFL, where you rotate guys in and out more constantly. So you kind of need 2 to 3 players who can play similar roles. And you have your guys like a Jalen Carter in for the main impact plays, so where they can go ahead and make as I said earlier, the biggest impact.
Yeah, well, let's talk about, other defensive players. Hey, we have Edmonds and Edwards, the new face of the defense. So if you recall, I forgot what the exact deal is, like $100 million, something like that, guaranteed $60 million for Roquan Smith. And we traded him away because that's the deal he got. Yeah. And so looking at Edmonds and Edwards, I'm gonna have to differentiate the two. I'm still kind of learning them, but Tremaine Edmonds, as good as Roquan Smith, and maybe a little bit better, sideline to sideline, and that fits more of Eberflus's scheme, and also some people have said he has a little bit higher ceiling than Roquan Smith. Also, Roquan Smith's kind of reached the ceiling, which is really, really good, but Edmonds can really get even better, fit into the scheme better. He had like 150 tackles last year, and what a beast. And he's young and like everything you want. Oh yeah, speaking of DJ Moore, we didn't mention this. I think he's like 24 years old, because he's been in the NFL for 4 years since he was 20, and he's 24, where some receivers come into the league at 23, So holy crap, let's not overlook that kind of stuff. And Edmonds is young, and we're drafting young people that are all peak at the same time. This is awesome.
Yeah, that's really been a focus of Ryan Poles' free agency strategy, was that he's bringing in guys who are going into their second contracts and are going to have their peak years on the Bears. Like every single guy that you see that the Bears have drafted are guys who are coming in and they're going to be hitting their prime. They're going to be guys who will be giving us their best football years. And that's been the focus of Ryan Poles' free agency strategy. And one of the main ones that he wanted to bring in was Orlando Brown. And unfortunately, he chose to play for the Bengals, who gave him a record-setting deal for linemen. And Ryan Poles made it very vocal that he was willing to match any deal or even like go over and beyond whatever deal that any other team would offer him. But he probably decided for himself that he wanted to stay on a contender, a current contender.
I mean, we're pretty much contenders at this point.
I wouldn't say that.
For the NFC North.
I kind of want to contest the Edmonds statement that he's as good as Roquan. Edmonds is a very good player. Don't get me wrong. He was actually in the same draft class as Roquan Smith.
Hey, his comp is Brian Urlacher. Come on.
Yeah, his comp is Brian Urlacher. I'm not saying that it is not a good player. The guy's a phenomenal player. But and as for you saying that Roquan hit his ceiling, I mean, like, yeah, Roquan's one of the two best linebackers in the NFL.
It's a pretty good ceiling, but
it's a pretty good ceiling. You know, when your ceiling is elite. You know,
but it's not an Urlacher. You know,
it's and another knock I'm going to say that is brought up about Edmonds a lot is that he doesn't make enough impact plays. Like he doesn't get your sacks, he doesn't get your forced fumbles, he doesn't get your interceptions. But what he is good at is that he's very solid in that he's a sure tackler. He is a sideline to sideline player, and he's good in coverage. He will break up those passes. He'll make sure that those guys are. It's not an easy throw because he's very tall. He's very lengthy, like Urlacher was. Urlacher was actually started as a safety before he moved to linebacker and started playing in the NFL. So, and Edmonds doesn't have the size of Urlacher, but he is still strong, very fast player, and I can't wait to see what he does. And Edwards, the hometown boy coming back to Chicago, like you always love to see it. I led the Eagles in tackles when he was on the team, and he's coming to Chicago to be on the other end of Edmonds and Jack Sanborn, and this is looking like a really good linebacker crew. May not be the best in the NFL, but it's damn near up there. This is a really good linebacker core.
Let's talk about the rest of the defense. Now, the linebackers are amazing. We have some great, subs and things like that and backups, and it's awesome. We have that stacked, but it's only as good as the D line. And we need a good nose guard. We need an amazing edge rusher. We picked up Billings, right? Tunyon and PJ Walker. What are your thoughts on our line and maybe some of these additions? Tunyon's not necessarily the best blocker, but he's a good backup, a little bit stretching the field kind of tight end. We do double tight ends often. And then you have Kolkomet, which is pretty solid there. Billings is going to be pretty solid there on defense. Again, we kind of have some of these mixed, but Billings, what do you think of him?
Yeah. Another thing that I want to point out about Ryan Poles' free agency strategy is that he's not just going for guys who fit the mold of going to their second year contracts and playing in their prime seasons, is that he's also going for scheme fits. So players that fit what the Bears are doing right now. So Billings, he's been kind of a journeyman defensive tackle in the NFL. Played for the Raiders, played for a few other teams, and he's not a bad player. He's really good run stopper, but he'll never get that pressure. He's that prototypical 4-3 nose tackle. So he's not – I don't think he's a starter, but he's definitely a really good depth piece.
I think he's a starter. He got a 76.4 grade from Pro Football Focus, which is well above average.
I'm not saying that is not a good player. That's why I think he's a really good rotational piece. I think the Bears do still need that guy
Yeah.
who
He'll be rotational, one
you
technique. Yep. I
yeah,
agree
the
with that.
Bears do need that. Are going to need to pair him up with someone that'll be a force, though. So
He's a
he's
good run
definitely
stopper. He's a good run stopper. That's
yeah.
a pro. We were really bad
By
at
by all means,
that.
something that's very much needed. Like the Bears' run defense. I mean, the Bears' defense in general last year, but the Bears' run defense especially
The
was
last 2
terrible
years.
last year. It was just not good. Like anytime Akeem Hicks was not in there, it was just not
Yeah.
pretty. So it's very much needed. We definitely need that person up in the middle that can just plug their ass in that gap and just make sure the running back has to run outside so that our linebackers could track him down. As for PJ Walker and Robert Tunyon, PJ Walker, very, very good player as everyone has seen. Like he's not gonna be that guy who will lead your team to the Super Bowl, but he's a very good backup. Very similar skill set to what Justin Fields has. He's not as talented, but he's definitely able to be that guy that if Fields needs to be out for 1 or 2 games for whatever reason, he can definitely come in, run the offense, and hopefully win us 1 or 2 games. And
Yeah.
that's all you really want from your backup. Like that's all you can ask for. Like no one can be
Yeah.
Nick Foles who will lead your team to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he's better than Simeon. We saved $2 million with Simeon, and we just put him right into Walker, which is fine, right? Like that's a great trade
Yeah.
off. And Tunyon, I mean, him and our offensive coordinator, blanking out his name real
Lucas,
quick.
Luke
No,
Getsy.
yeah, Luke Getsy.
Yeah,
He played
they
under
have a
Luke
previous
Getsy.
relationship on the
They have a good
Packers, and
relationship.
they know
He's
each other. Tunyon knows the system. He knows how Luke Getsy's going to want to run his offense. So
the first, let's not forget the first of the back-to-back MVPs Rodgers got was 9 touchdowns to Tunyon that year, the first one. So he's a
yeah, I
big
mean
player. He can catch. He's proven
he
it.
he's definitely a really good receiving threat. He had that breakout year in 2020 where he had 11 touchdowns, and as you said,
It was
like
11. Okay.
he had 11 touchdowns. I don't think all of them were from Rodgers, so that might
Mhm.
be
That's
like
probably what it was.
it was a few years ago. So I mean, he had like almost 600 yards that season, so he could
Yeah.
definitely be a really good receiving threat. He's got that potential in him, you know. So him and Cole Kmet, really good tight end
I
duo.
think
I like
so.
it a lot. Like I think this is a good pickup, and it's going to be like Cole Kmet's obviously going to be the tight end 1, but Tunyon definitely really good tight end number 2.
Okay. Yeah. No, I agree. And be out there at the same time and kind of things like that. It's gonna be so far a lot of good moves.
Mm-hmm.
But we got rid of Monty. So let's move
Yeah.
to offense now. We got rid of Montgomery and trade him to the Lions, which I agree with. It's just like running backs are like a commodity nowadays, and is what it is. I remember AP talking about it back in the day. It's like, well, it sucks. I wish I had played a different position if I did it over again, because we just get used and abused and spit out and all that. And I get a loyalty and all that. I mean, Montgomery got paid way more than we would have paid for him at the Lions. So I'm happy he went there. I'm happy he got the money he deserved. We just couldn't pay him. We're really trying to build a really, really good team here. The Lions, they let them throw some money around. That's fine. Herbert's a stud at number 1. Foreman from Carolina, I think he's gonna be a good solid 2. And Homer as the 3rd. And really, was it Ebner? I think we have as our 4 right now. Potentially, we pick up some more or draft someone or something like that, right? But I think it's a solid enough core. Oh, and let's not forget our best runner of them all, Fields, right? So we're gonna have him too, if we need him, of course. Let's try to pass first and all that with all our weapons that we'll get to. Thoughts on the running back? Who would you like to see on here?
I do actually like the Foreman pickup. He was really good last year in Carolina when he got his opportunities to. He actually had a very similar numbers to Montgomery during the games that he played, because I believe they played a similar amount of games and their production was very similar. I think Foreman actually had more touchdowns than Montgomery. But I mean, of course, like you got to factor in Justin Fields' long touchdown runs that he had, but you could just as easily substitute those for passing touchdowns if you really want to make that argument.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that.
But again, Foreman, he's a really good runner. I think he'd be a real good piece for this year, as he is on a 1-year contract, I believe. Herbert, I think, is going to be the main feature back, but again, it looks like the Bears are looking to be doing more of a running back by rotation style kind of thing, like the traditional Shanahan offense often does. Use different types of running backs for different situations. Homer, really good receiving back for passing situations. Just will be a pure third down player. And Herbert's just going to be that guy who can just do it all, to where see him on the field, you're not going to know what the Bears are going to want to do. So overall, I think these are really good. I think the 2 new running backs are really good pickups, going to keep the run game consistent. In my opinion, there's a slight upgrade in terms, because I do think Homer is a better player than Ebner is. Granted, he is a rookie and he's just growing into the league, so who knows how he'll do in the future.
We'll see. And then look, I want to continue the running back conversation. Running back is only as good as the line, right? We had a very average line, and Nate Davis, one of the best linemen in the league at his position at guard. Does this mean that Derrick Henry is coming to the Bears? Can I dream? Can we have him? He's going to leave Tennessee, as it seems. Los Angeles Chargers is a landing place. Dallas Cowboys, Buffalo Bills. Why can't it be the Bears? we got his favorite lineman, or I'm going to call him his favorite lineman, Nate Davis.
Well, as much as I love Derrick Henry, I would love for him to be on the Bears. It doesn't seem to match up with what the Bears want to do. I don't think they're going to want to bring in a running back with a giant salary cap, because they're kind of
amongst children when he plays.
And I'm going to go ahead and pull back that earlier comment where you talked about Adrian Peterson, because Adrian Peterson's one of the last great running backs that from an era where the running back was the main focal point of offenses. Derrick Henry is probably going to be the last great full-time heavy volume running back we'll probably see in a long time.
He's basically a very in shape giant nose guard that happens to be skinny, run fast, and likes to be on offense and have the ball. He could be a nose guard if he wanted to and gained a bunch of weight.
The guy's just like an Urlacher, Ray Lewis type that you just threw a running back instead of linebacker. He
give him the ball. It works.
He literally plays that position like he's gonna actually go tackle the defense. He's just an incredible player. I would love for Derrick Henry.
I imagine the weather reporter from Family Guy. It's basically like, hey, what's the weather? It's cold. I just imagine Derrick Henry. He's like, you're gonna tackle me? I'm gonna tackle you. And then it just
you could try. As for Nate Davis, he's definitely going to be starting on the line at guard.
Right side,
he's been a guard his entire time. He's been a guard the entire time. That's probably going to mean that the Bears are going to kick Cody Whitehair to center, and you're going to have Telvin Jenkins and Nate Davis in your guard positions with Cody Whitehair in center, which he's played at a Pro Bowl level at that position before. So overall, I think the Bears' 3 interior positions and the lines are actually like solid and fine now.
Yeah.
I wanted the Bears to draft a true center, so then we could keep Whitehair at guard because I do think he can play. So that I do think he plays a little better at guard than he does at center. But like overall, I'm not upset about this at all. I do really like the signing. Nate Davis is a great player. Like he's arguably one of the best guards in the NFL, and he's just great overall player. Fits exactly what the Bears want to do.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, he's good. White hair. Yeah, so I think is the Poles or that last part on this, either Poles or Eberflus in an interview today said when asked that question, basically said, Whitehair has over 4,000 live snaps at center. We're gonna figure out what our best 5 are and do that. So like pretty much, he's gonna go to center. Like he's got the most experience, unless they find someone, unless they do, that kind of stuff. We'll see exactly what happens here, but
and I mean, there's still a couple of pretty good centers in the draft that the Bears feel one of those guys is a better fit at center than Whitehair is. There's also the opportunity. There's also the chance that the Bears do decide to move on from Cody Whitehair. He does have a decent salary cap hit for us. He is also on the wrong side of. He's also heading towards the wrong side of 30, so he's may not be a part of the Bears' long-term plans for very long. He is on a second deal. The guy has been injury prone lately. Like, I do love him. I think he's a great player. But again, availability is the best quality of any player, and he hasn't exactly been available the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So again, would love to keep him, but at the same time, like there could be better players at center. If the Bears decide he is the best center on the team, then great, glad to have him. And otherwise, I would expect Cody Whitehair exit, whether this year or possibly next year.
Yeah. All right. Let's move into the receiving core. What are your thoughts on that? Think about that now. We have Moore, a verified number 1. We have a number 2 with Claypool, a number 3 at Mooney, and then we have a Cole Kmet breakout year last year. I mean, is that, and then Tunyon potentially, right, too. We have some running back, a gadget player here and there with Homer, some new, like we and Fields. We have a solid offensive weaponry that Fields can use.
Yeah, like last year was just a pure, like there was 2 main problems. One, the offensive line couldn't block for Fields at all. Like, because our 2 best players were always hurt. And then 2, our receivers were just never getting open because Mooney was our best receiver and he was getting double teamed all the time. Claypool got acquired in the middle of the season, so there's no real time for him.
Got hurt a little bit, right?
He got hurt. There was no time for him to really get gel with Justin Fields. So I do think Claypool could be a really good number 3 receiver.
Yeah.
I think that Mooney's going to be the number 2 and Claypool's going to be the number 3. But
I think it's going to be flipped. But
either way, it's going to be either way. Like as long as like DJ Moore is going to be the bona fide number 1 player, guy just flat out knows how to get open, knows how to protect the ball. And he's just going to be the guy that when Fields throws it to him, he knows he's going to get the ball somehow.
Yeah, they met. I think they've been meeting already too, like hanging out and stuff. And
the
press conference today.
They just got
hanging out.
They just got photos. They just got their picture taken at the Bulls game earlier today, where Claypool, Mooney, Fields, and Moore were all together. They actually all got their own custom Bulls jerseys with their jersey numbers put on them. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, like it was honestly like the guy's already committed to building a bond with the crew. So And like you said, like Cole Kmet, Robert Tunyon, both really good receiving threats as well. Khalil Herbert is a dangerous weapon, and Homer, like that was a specialty in Seattle. So it's a really good shakeup to what we had last year. Last year we had like guys who could do stuff, but they never had the opportunity to. So now hopefully the Bears O-line could be a little bit better. Who knows? Maybe the number 9 pick the Bears used to grab Paris Johnson, that offensive tackle, to go ahead and make sure that O-line only has one bad player on it instead of 2. So
Yeah.
hopefully the O-line looks a lot better than it does, but I would love for D-line to get fixed up.
Yeah. Here's something I've been thinking about. Zeke Elliott, got released today, and he's gonna shop around and stuff. Potentially just go back to the Cowboys for a minimum veteran kind of salary. But maybe he's not so bad for a pretty cheap back for the Bears, just to kind of throw in as a power back, just to rush in there in the end zone. Thoughts?
I think if the Bears were going to sign him, they would have already. Again, the Bears are trying to go for younger guys who are going to be a part of a core for a very long time, and Zeke doesn't really fit that. He's been in the league for 7 years. Now, don't get me wrong, I do really like Zeke as a player, but he has fallen off really bad since 2019. Like,
once he got his money.
Yeah, exactly.
Got that dough, and then got that dough belly,
Yeah. And the guy's he's just not the same player he was 3 years ago.
His rookie year, really.
His rookie year his first 3 years were phenomenal.
No, it's really his rookie year. His rookie year, they had the best chance of winning with him. I'm not disagreeing. He could have ran 200 yards a game if they just kept giving them the ball.
It's just Zeke is definitely one of those guys who just kind of lost his spark, and maybe he needs to go. Maybe he needed something like
those
this.
Those are a dime a dozen, though, aren't they? In running backs.
Oh no,
they were awesome, and then drop off. Awesome, drop off.
Again, it's just like he's going to be besides like Derrick Henry, like his contract that he had with the Cowboys is what's going to scare every other player from getting anywhere close to $10 million a year from now on. Like, unless you're someone like a Derrick Henry who could just bulldoze over everybody no matter what. Like, you're just not going to get that contract as a running back anymore. It's just not going to happen.
It's great to see.
Running back has gone from the most important position on your offense to now is just maybe we'll take a flyer on a guy.
Yeah, can we use you? Can we use you as a receiver? That's pretty much what it is.
Realistically, I think that's where Sean Payton was kind of a pioneer because he was kind of the first guy to use the running back by committee approach.
You mean the quarterback / running back by committee with Hill?
Oh yeah. Well, no, I'm actually talking a long time before that, because the running back by committee thing was just kind of started by him back in the early 2010s, and that was just kind of that was a newer approach at the time, and that's just now almost how everybody does it.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to draft day needs. So we kind of talk about all the stuff the Bears have. What are some things they're going to need? I mean, we talked about the nose guard, nose tackle. Nose tackle. There we go. Sorry. Nose tackle position. So we need that. We need a fortified rusher here. We need someone to really be able to just edge rush like crazy. We need a center on offense. And I mean, after that, potentially
I'll say offensive tackle. We still
left tackle or left guard. What do you think?
Left or right tackle. I think our guards are set now. I would say
left tackle. I would say we need to fill.
Yeah, like Braxton Jones. I like the guy, and I hope he grows into the role. But the Bears do need a certified stud blue chip player at either position. So which like Paris Johnson is expected to fall to them in the draft, to where a lot of people are actually expecting for them to pick him up. And honestly, like offensive line, first round in the draft, never a bad decision. Very safe, very reliable choice for a lot of GMs that they do typically when you're in the later rounds, and the and like in the higher up rounds is where you get those stalwart guys who just never let anyone through. You know, that's where you get those guys who can handle your Khalil Max, your Lee Bosas, and your Nick Bosas. You know,
Yeah, I'd
and
love to get a Nick
so
Bosa. Where
I
can I get
would,
one of those?
yeah, and that's where I'm going to point out like it's also there are also a lot of people think that they're going to pick up the one defensive back, defensive
Defensive
end
end.
from Tennessee. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I think his name is Tree Wilson, but he's a really good pass rusher too, who's expected to go in the top 10. You know, but this is also a draft that's extremely deep in pass rushers this year and defensive line. So I think that the Bears are going to go offensive line with their pick and pick up Paris Johnson. I would, again, we talked about Jalen Carter. He's a potential selection, but if the Bears think that he's not going to be all there, then they may not. They may choose to opt to let him go, and who knows? Maybe other teams feel that way too, and he falls in the second round to the Bears. You know, so
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I really don't think Carter's going to fall that far. So it's
Yeah.
overall, it's all in the trenches. Definitely going to be one of that number 9 pick to be someone that is there. Don't really care who it is at this point. I'm going to be pretty much happy with all those.
I think
Any of those
there's a I
picks.
don't know about a Tennessee player, but we have from Alabama Will Anderson as an edge rusher, 4 to 5
He's going to be
stud.
gone at number 3.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we
He's going to
have
go to the Cardinals.
I don't know,
He's not
right?
even going to be
You have
there.
Bryce Young, Jalen Carter, C.J. Strauss, potentially Anthony Richardson at a 4. Let's say those are the top 4. Then yeah, maybe he'll go 5. But what if we trade up to 5 and pick him up? Like that's not a bad idea. We still like Will Anderson's in the mix for us to get. That would be amazing. If not, we have Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech.
Yeah,
He's also
that's the guy who I
awesome.
was talking about. That's the guy who I was talking about. Yeah, he not Tennessee, Texas Tech. My
So
apologies.
he's definitely in our like ability to pick up. So
Oh yeah, no, he's definitely he's actually got the Khalil Mack prototype. So he's that exact kind of player we would need off the edge. He's looking to be like probably the second best pass rusher in this draft. So definitely someone we could pick up hopefully at number 9. I do
let's see,
think he's going to be
6'6", 275 pounds.
Oh yeah, he's a
Woo!
monster. He's a monster. The guy's
Yeah,
just he's very fast too. He's just gonna blaze right past everyone and get to the quarterback in seconds. I would love to see him on this Bears defense.
yeah. I mean, I think honestly, I think he's going to be more of a pickup kind of for us than Jalen Carter. I mean, I get it. Jalen Carter's amazing, and we need a good nose tackle, but I don't know. I don't know. Like it's just like hopefully someone steals him from us, and then we're forced to pick Tyree Wilson, and then we're gonna be super happy. Like, well, they took him. It was
Yeah,
our choice.
and
That'd be awesome.
realistically, at number 9, like I think it's going to be between uh Paris Johnson and Wilson. Like those are probably the two players that I would really love to have at number 9 overall. I mean, if for God knows what reason Will Anderson falls, then 100% pick him up, you know, or like you said, if the
Oh,
Bears are
Quinton
able to trade
Johnson.
back up. Hmm?
You're saying Quinton Johnson?
No, I meant Will Anderson. Was it Quinn? If Will
Quinton
Anderson
Johnson's
falls to the Bears.
the number 1 receiver. That's being the prospect. So we have Will Anderson. Yeah, so that's the number one position. He's not going to drop that far. And then Tyree Wilson as the other edge rusher. So I mean, yeah, those two, either of those two, I'd be happy. And I don't know, I kind of lean towards them more so, but who knows? Then you have Devin Winterspoon as a cornerback, the number one cornerback from Illinois, so homegrown. And then I mean, who else? Quentin Johnson, the one receiver. He could be great too. 6'4", 215 pounds, great build. There's another D-line, Miles Murphy from Clemson.
Yeah, he's probably going to be someone who's going to go in the the teens for first round. So he's not I don't think he's the best pass rusher in the draft, but he's definitely going to be a good player.
Yeah, we have Paris Johnson, offensive tackle, Peter.
Yeah, he's the guy who I'm thinking the Bears are probably going to go if they go offensive line.
Well, Peter Skoronski too. He's from Northwestern.
Yeah, he's hometown kid.
He's ranked higher.
Really good player.
He's ranked the first offensive tackle in the draft currently.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that he's gonna go beforehand. There's a lot of really good players that could really fall to the Bears in number 9, and I was expecting Skoronski to be going to either like the Lions or maybe even the Raiders. So
we'll see. I mean, and then at 19 on this list, we have Lucas Van Ness, a sophomore out of Iowa, 6'5", 275 as an edge rusher. That's pretty good too.
This is an extremely deep draft class. Like, you really can't go wrong with any of these players. These guys are all certified studs, and there are going to be a couple of them that fall to the second round. Like, this is an extremely deep draft class. Like, you're going to see some guys that a lot of analysts expected to go in the top 10 of a couple months ago, and they're probably going to end up in the second round. But the thing is that we're not going to know who those players are going to be. So hopefully the Bears get 2 or even 3, because the Bears have 2 second-round picks. They get 3 just like future stalwarts of this team, all in the first, like, in their first 3 picks.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm really excited for it. Maybe we pick up a center, maybe who else, right? Like, but we're kind of both on the same page. We need some kind of big boys to come in and handle some bodies. That's basically it.
Exactly. Just need some big guys that'll push other big guys around. Like, and a really good attitude.
Do it well with some speed, going left to right, right to left, moving to the second and then third level during running. That's really the things we need, and both on offense and defense. And man, it's exciting. But I'm ready. I'm ready for the season to start tomorrow.
Dude, it's definitely been the wildest offseason that I've ever seen in my life.
For the Bears, for sure.
Speaking of wild news, like, Rodgers to the Jets is finally unofficially official.
It's official.
It's official for the most part. The only thing is that the Packers are trying to wrangle out as much draft capital from the Jets. So what do you think they're going to get? You think they're trying to get 2-3 first-round picks? You think they're trying to get one of those? You think they're trying to get one of those receivers from the Jets?
I think, honestly, they're probably going to settle for 1 second-round pick, and then take on like part of the contract. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't even know if he's going to get a first rounder for it. They've got zero leverage on that. I
think the Packers have all the leverage.
No, I don't think so. I mean, they have some leverage for sure, but it's like, okay, he's going over there. He's got some demands. Cool, got that stuff. But it's that contract. They need to offload the contract. They need to offload part of it. Yes, the Jets really, really want him, but they can't expect much here. I mean, I think they should be very, very happy if they get a first-round draft pick. Like, that would be really good for them.
Here's the thing: is that the Jets actually can't take on the whole entire contract because they only have
Well,
about
not the whole
20 million.
contract. I mean, like a little piece
Yeah,
of it or something, and maybe not
yeah.
even this year, but next year.
That's
But
what I'm getting
there,
at. Like at least this year, the Packers are going to have to like take a like at least half of it because the Jets, I believe, only have about 21, maybe 22 million in cap space available. So it's the Jets realistically can't take on the entirety of Rodgers' contract. So that is like kind of for the most part probably where they're like talking about where they're going to be. I think in terms of the draft capital, the Packers are trying to get probably around 2 first-round picks from Rodgers.
yeah,
For
and
Rodgers,
I
I
see.
think they're
I
trying
don't
to
think
get.
that's realistic.
I think they're trying. I think they're going to try to get at least one and a player. You know, it's
I don't know
that. I
because
mean, if
Rodgers is
Russell
not
Wilson went for
guaranteed.
3,
Yeah,
I
but
mean, if
Rodgers is not guaranteed to stay there. That's the whole big thing about it. So if they get a first rounder, okay, let's play your scenario with 2 first rounders. That second first rounder has to be contingent on him staying there for like more than like a re-signing of a contract with him. It's got to be something like that. It can't. It's not going to be
well,
here's 2 first rounders and Rodgers plays for a year and leaves. Like
I
that's not
mean,
cool.
Matthew Stafford's only played like 18 games for the Rams. He's only played like 1.5 seasons for the Rams, and they gave up 2 first-round picks, but he
Yeah,
got
but
him a
he
Super
but he
Bowl.
wasn't talking about retiring, and 90% sure he's going to retire before going to the blackness, right, for 5 days and 4 nights, and so I'd actually be interested in doing that myself. That sounds weirdly interesting and terrorizing, and
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
sounds like a real good way to sounds like a real good way to break your entire personality apart. Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I mean, and who knows if like the contract talks for Rodgers do end up breaking down, like Lamar Jackson, like
Yeah, I think Atlanta's a good spot for him. I mean,
I don't know. They signed
that
Tyler Heineke, so maybe they're
so
moving
what?
on. Like,
Yeah, maybe they tried it already and they won't budge or something. But
I mean, the main
yeah,
issue is that he wants a fully guaranteed contract. That
yeah. But wait. Rodgers. Let's just finish on Rodgers. Finally, Rodgers is the hell out of the NFC North. We can stop
oh yeah,
talking about him. Yeah, I. That's one of the biggest moves for the Bears this season. Rodgers
oh yeah.
leaving the NFC North
It's
wide open. Lions, prove to me you can do it 2 years in a row. Yes, you had something last year. Prove to me you can do it 2 years in a row. Vikings, cool. You guys are good in the regular season. We'll trash you any day. We always do. So like that's kind of how I see it. I think it's wide open. I think we have a solid shot of winning it. And hello, NFC North from the 80s where the Packers are bad.
yeah, I know. Every Packers fan's like every Packers fan's worst nightmare is about to happen where they're the worst team in the NFC, and they're literally all praying that Jordan Love is going to be
Back
another
to
4 or
back to
5
back
years.
Hall of Famers
Very, very
is the
unlikely,
question.
especially with what Jordan Love has shown so far to us. Like, I don't think he's going to be that player. Not saying that he can't be good, you know. The guy's clearly
Yeah.
like got a lot of talent,
Yeah.
but
He's not the
he's
dude.
not going to be that. I don't think he's going to be that guy, you know. It's just that it's going to be a very hard act to follow. Like Rodgers obviously showed that he could follow Brett Favre's act. Like it's just going to be whether Jordan Love's going to be able to follow up, and we're probably going to finally see if the Packers head coach is actually able to develop quarterbacks or not.
Yeah, exactly.
We
Because I think he's
he's
had
an
it too
offensive
good.
guru. Is he a quarterback guru though?
Nah,
You
nah.
know, is
I
he
don't. I
just
see.
writing?
I don't buy into offensive guru either. Like that's such a. He was put in a position where he had everything. It's like,
Yeah,
he
exactly.
didn't fuck it up. Okay, that does not make him an offensive guru. He didn't
I
fuck it
mean,
up. Good job for not fucking it up. Can we like see what you do now that you don't have Aaron Rodgers? and you don't have Devontae Adams, and let's see what you do and prove to us that you're actually good here. So that's kind of what we're looking for.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like that's same thing with the Lamar Jackson situation. Like John Harbaugh's had multiple quarterbacks, shown that he could develop them, and Lamar Jackson's kind of trapped between a rock and a hard place. Like the Ravens had given him his contract, and and he said no to it because he wants that thing fully guaranteed. Because
yeah, man, like he's got to get an agent.
He was hurt a lot last year, though.
I know, but he's got to get an agent at this point. Like we all see that, like, hey, you're kind of talking in public about your own stuff. Your agent's not handling it. It's just your mom, right? And it's just like, get an agent to handle all this. The agent is the one who takes all the shots and gets fired upon and is the bad guy, not you in that situation. But since you're kind of the one handling it, you're the bad guy in this situation, Lamar. Like, you posted on Twitter, oh no, I'm only gonna get 133 million guaranteed. Yeah. Talk to us over here who would love to have 133 million guaranteed. Okay, like boo hoo. All right.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I don't know if people remember, this was the same thing that was happening with Roquan Smith during his contract talks with the Bears. Like, it was not a good look for Roquan when he was trying to negotiate he was trying to get $20 million a year. The Bears were offering him 18. He wanted that extra $2 million. And then suddenly you hear about talks about some random guy calling other teams about trying to get
Keenan or something.
Yeah, I forgot what the name is.
Like, I don't know.
It was something ridiculous. And then people were like, wait, Roquan Smith doesn't have an agent. And they're like, wait, Roquan, are you talking, like, is Roquan Smith talking to these other teams? And, like, it's those nuances, because there's certain things you're allowed to do and you're not allowed to do. And the agents take care of that for the players, and they tell the players, hey, you're allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do this.
Yeah, they take their 3%.
What Roquan was doing was that, and like what Roquan was doing was technically tampering,
Yeah,
and
because
and it was a very bad look for Roquan Smith, and like there's a lot of people who thought he was like acting extremely childish because he didn't want to spend that money on an agent, because the agent takes a cut of the players' contracts.
Yeah, no, I mean, okay, so like an agent is good for a body shield, right? That's one of the things. Negotiate on your behalf, so you don't have to do a lot of that stuff. Also, a thing for agents that like people that's kind of overlooked is they're a part of an agency, and they have other players in that agency, and nobody's going to want to piss that agent off, because they know if they want to go after other players in that agency later on, there's going to be bad blood. So they can't afford to be bad. But if there's one player, well, we're not going to get that player. What's going to happen? Not a big deal. They can be more aggressive. They can be everything. So it's like body shield, reputation. There's a lot of trust things, and also like future prospects with that agency is a big deal to other teams. So like there is merit in paying that 3%. I know 3% on $100 million is $3 million. I get it, but that's only $3 million out of 133, right? Like, whatever. Like, deal with it.
Yeah, like most players like go with the agent because, I mean, a lot of the players just want to be focused on working out and be done with it. They don't want to be sitting in that room in the contract talks. They just tell their agent what they want and how they want it, and then that's it. Like, there's not a lot of players who are willing to sit in that negotiation room and to get what they want. Like, I believe Joey Bosa is one of those players. He wanted to negotiate for for a sales percentage of his jerseys because he knew how much money was at stake for that. So Joey Bosa's rookie contract was actually worth a lot more than what the face value actually said, because he probably got millions of dollars just in his jersey sales alone.
Yeah, I think players are just trying it out. They're all going to realize how terribly it goes and how it slows processes down, and then they're all going to go back to
Mhm.
it. I think it's just kind of like part of that process, but it is what it is. And I am the Arlington Heights native here, and Jimmy G is also an Arlington Heights native. Rolling Meadows High School here. Played with my cousins and stuff. And hey, he is going to the Raiders. I think that's a really good fit for them because I think they were like at like 9 games, or it was like a lot of games last year that they were like really close to winning and didn't win. And Jimmy G, all he does is win. So problem solved.
I mean, I'm still in the camp that like Josh McDaniels is not a good coach, but I
I'm
mean,
with you.
if he's just kind of one of those guys who tries to plug a square peg into a round hole, and that's what he was doing with Derek Carr. He was trying to throw him into an offense that he didn't fit, and Jimmy Garoppolo has been exposed to Josh McDaniels' offense before. They know how each other works, and who knows, like now that Josh McDaniels has the quarterback he wants, that's not named John. That's not named Tom Brady. My apologies for my words there. Like, who knows? Maybe he finally actually does something on offense, but
Yeah.
at least
They know each
consistently,
other, right? Like it's all these kind of things.
like
Devontae
they know
Adams
what
was a
the
little irritated, but he'll get over it.
yeah. I mean, Devontae knows it's a business at the end of the day. Like he did go to the Raiders to play with Derek Carr specifically, and suddenly next season he's no longer there. So who knows what Devontae Adams goes ahead and does? Is he professional, plays out his contract, then decides to go into free agency the next year? Does he try to get out of uh, Las Vegas after 2 seasons? Like you never know.
We'll see. Like the
And
Raiders weren't that far away. I mean, they did just trade Waller. You know how much I love him. Amazing tight end. I think he's right there with Kittle and Kelsey like as the top tight ends. Like he's just amazing. Yeah, he hasn't been in the papers and headlines much in the last couple of years, but like he is as good. It just he really didn't have I guess all the weaponry and everything
yeah,
around. But
and
I think he's going to do very good. And where do you go to again? The
I
Giants, right?
believe, yeah, he went to the Giants, and this is another example of where I say like Josh McDaniels just doesn't like to budge and adjust his offense because his offense is not very kind to tight ends, and he doesn't really change things unless like he's told to.
It's an
So like,
amazing tight end. It's like
yeah,
imagine having Travis Kelsey and you're like, well, I don't really do tight ends.
exactly. Like I don't agree with the move. It's the same reason why the Bears moved down from Greg Olson, which is another trade that I despised when it happened. You know, you don't trade your players just because they don't fit what you're doing anymore. You change what you're doing to fit the players you have
I
because they're
think so.
amazing players. You don't want to be giving those away for what I felt like, what I feel like in this situation is nothing. Like
They should have got like multiple
it,
first rounders for him,
I think they
honestly.
should have gotten at least a second round pick for Waller.
I would say first
It,
because like he's just one of
he's just
those.
an he's just an amazing player. I
Well,
completely
Jones
agree.
has more weapons now. What the hell? Is he gonna like actually show up like he did last year and well make more touchdowns hopefully, or hopefully not. I don't want them to be good, so
I
so
still
we can
don't
have
think
another
Daniel Jones
TBD.
is worth that contract,
Oh
but
no,
I mean, he's definitely not going to have any excuse after this season, in my opinion.
oh
I
no,
do think the
not at
Giants are going to go after a receiver in the draft to go ahead and like give him that number one receiver. Like I like Sterling Shepard, think he's a good player. Don't think he's number one. And Darius Slayton, he's hurt too much. Like he's not going to be. He's again best availability is a best of quality is availability, and those guys are just not available enough to be consistent factors. And Darren Waller's definitely a step in the right direction. I think the Giants draft the number one receiver. That team will be solid after
yeah.
next year when they draft their real quarterback of the future.
Yeah, and then the Jets are still gonna be trash.
With Rodgers,
I
hopefully.
don't know. I don't know. I hope they are. I hope it really is like that.
Watch
And then
Rodgers just go to the Jets, and then the Jets release him, and then he goes to the Vikings and completes the prophecy of after he goes ahead gets sacked by the Bears for his final game of his career.
oh yeah, that'd be awesome. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
Lions already said, hey, remember we beat them
Yeah,
last.
we were Rodgers' last game. We spoiled it and everything.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's Lions fans claim to fame now. Oh yeah,
yeah. It's a good
and
one.
Rams fire sale, like they're giving away all their players. It seems like they cut Leonard Floyd. They traded Jalen Ramsey for a third round pick. They're still over the salary cap. They got to get under that thing, and they got to make at least. They're in the negative right now. They need to make at least 10 million so then they can sign their draft. So then they can sign their draft picks. Like, what do you think? They did say they're keeping Cup and Stafford though.
Yeah, I know.
So
Like I said, McVay, his whole thing, um, doing the I might retire last year. It was to get what he wanted, and then he got what he wanted, and then this year, he did another I might retire. He's basically leveraging himself in this situation in order to get what he wants, which is, hey, I don't care about a defense. I've done so much without one. I'd rather have more offensive weapons. Let me get rid of my defense and just make them okay. And then let's beef up the offense because I am an offensive guy and I really want that to be my sole thing. So he's getting rid of defensive players so he can really just focus on offense and beef that up. And defense, his whole philosophy, good enough. Um, so I
I
think that's
mean,
what's happening.
I kind of understand why they would want to do that. Like McVay's an offensive coach. The league has leaned more towards offense. You still need a good defense. Like the like
Tell that to the Rams.
look at the two. I will because the Rams were terrible last year. Like look at the two teams that won the Super Bowl that were in the Super Bowl last year. Both of them had top rated defenses. Eagles had the number 2 defense, and the Chiefs in the last 10 weeks of the season had arguably the number 1 defense in the league. And then the Rams, when they won the Super Bowl the year before, had a top 5 defense. So you need a good defense to be like have a shot at the Super Bowl. So and the Rams like they kind of had to get rid of all these players because like the salary cap was just too constricted for them. So they had to let go of Bobby Wagner.
Well,
They had to let go
that's why he got
of
Ramsey, and
and
we're not going to build our team around that. Yes, have solid players. I'm not saying that, and your defense rises to the occasion. You can make mediocre defenses look very good, like top 10-ish for like an extended period of time if they're coached right and all that kind of stuff. Because it's a lot of young players. Defense can be a lot of young players, which is kind of cool. But on offense, you need the good players, and they're typically older and things like that. They have some experience. Those are the better ones, and so that's kind of why he's leaning towards that because you can draft. Well, he doesn't draft, does he? But you can pick up some people and fill the defensive holes you have as the season goes on, and let's bulk up the offense right now. And I think that's more so the thing. I'm not saying get rid of the defense and make it super weak on purpose. Just like let's focus our money on spending on offense right now and beefing that up, and the defense will work on as we need it.
yeah, it's one of those things where like first off, like it's like you said, you can have a lot of like okay players on defense and still have a top defense, but you kind of need to have like an extremely good defensive coordinator then in that case. And I don't know if the Rams have that right now. Like their it seems like their defensive coordinators get picked off every year.
Yeah.
So it's like and they're like nothing on that team was good last year. So it just seems like they just the coaching staff just gets picked off all the time and the Rams just struggle with trying to keep a group together. So,
well, I'd like to say good coaches don't have terrible back-to-back seasons, but Belichick. So I don't know. We'll see what actually happens.
I think the 20 consecutive years kind of gives him some leeway.
A little
Granted,
jaded
like
too.
I mean,
Maybe he's trying to get fired.
The NFL does stand for not for long. So I mean, it's what are you doing for me now? Now what you have done for me. So who knows how much time that those 20 years have bought him, really.
Honestly, he for all we know, he hasn't even been coaching the last couple of years. He's had a stand-in lookalike.
Yeah, maybe he's let his son take over for the time being to see how he does it from the background.
Maybe.
And he's just the face.
He's like, what do I care? So, but yeah. So that was a lot of stuff today. Our longest podcast thus far, but I think I think that covers it. Long week of constant hourly updates. It was ridiculous, and more to come. I mean, the draft's not too far away now, and summer's coming.
Real excited for this year. Can't wait for the draft. It's going to be a crazy, crazy season. And I can't wait. I'm so glad we started the podcast at this season out of all of them.
Yeah, right. The right time, right? And I'm looking out my window. I still don't see the Arlington Heights Bear Stadium built yet. So I'll let you know as I see it being built. But I will be going to the meetings and stuff like that. So stay tuned for that kind of stuff. Probably gonna do some catchy snippet kind of titles for that. So be on the lookout. But that's it. That concludes our 6th episode of the Gridiron Bros Podcast. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. If you watched this far, share with your friends, subscribe, like the video, and comment and let us know how we can improve, get better, what things you want to hear about. That's it for me, Patrick Stanzak, and see you guys next time.
Good night, everybody. See you next week.